I promise y'all, I need y'all to get this podcast up and popping to where this is like primary income, primary life. The stuff we talk about before the show would be incredible content for the show. We just aren't in a position to have said conversations on the air yet. So when y'all get us popping to where this is everything for us, y'all think the show's good now. I can bet my life. The content you guys will get then blows anything our best content would be our worst content if this was everything for us.
Talking about corporate America, man. Corporate America, we love you until we don't need you.
Oh boy. TFW podcast, that's Freakin Wrestling. Welcome back. We told you guys we were going to do a Survivor Series War Games post show. We put our heads together after watching the show and was like, you know what? I think we can wait to just have a conversation around wrestling until after War Games. And that worked out perfectly because we've been hearing y'all, and yes, we cannot go back to 2 days a week yet, but we got something better for you for right now. We are now moving back to Wednesdays. So we are recording Tuesday nights, uploading on Wednesdays, YouTube hopefully same day. So you guys get it a day early. We got way too much going on in the WWE world to wait until Thursday. With these SmackDowns, it's about to be hot. Saturday night's main event, these PLEs, then Raw. Just kind of waiting until you guys hearing what we got to say until Thursday was a little rough. So we are now back to Wednesday. So shout out to everybody who listens. We love you guys. Y'all know that. That's Freakin Wrestling. I got my tag team here, 3 the hard way. Eshaun is in the building. Rhodesia is in the building. Of course, you guys know me. I am in the building as well, Matt. And I am, if any of our YouTube listeners are watching, I am drinking a glass of red wine. Some of the better red wine you can get. Because typically, this would be a time where things may be a little sad. Thought about wearing a suit, E. I was like, no, I ain't going to wear a suit. But I do have on all black. Which is not abnormal for me, but it is for a reason. And that reason is this. I just want to say thank you for the memories, AEW. Thank you for the memories. You were there for me when professional wrestling was not there. It was a canceled word or a bad word to say pro wrestling before you came around. Everything had to be sports entertainment, and bad sports entertainment at that. There was no blood in wrestling. There was no cuss words in wrestling. I would say there was really no adult content and themes and storylines in wrestling. And you came at a time where I needed you the most and brought back excitement to my life and my world. The only excitement I got like that with WWE back in the day was WrestleMania season. It was really like WrestleMania and Royal Rumble, and that was kind of it. I've been saying for a couple weeks for AEW to make me feel something. You guys know Rhodesia and I went to the Dynamite show. I don't have anything to report on the Dynamite show outside of me just saying thank you for the memories, AEW. We go to Dynamite, and I'm like, make me feel something, AEW. Make me feel something. We get in our seats. Take a picture of where we're sitting at. Make me feel something, AEW. AEW, in fact, did not make me feel something. Now, Eshaun, we've been talking about AEW for a long, long, long time. We were all there day one. We were there for All In. Before AEW was even a company, the 3 of us were there and championing it like a mother trucker. Greets, we was there. Talking about it to everybody we could talk about it, get the word out. We were there. We are not some fans that are only pro WWE and we hate everything else, and anything we got to say about AEW is just to get, stir shit up and not coming from our core. This is who we are. We used to be diehard AEW fans. And I am here to say, for me, right now, AEW is dead. For me. For right now. Months ago, I came over here and said, hey, y'all, I'm going to kind of just like watch casually. I am done watching casually. I'm going to give you a quick rundown, and E, I'll throw it to you if you got anything. You guys can, of course, still feel free to bring up AEW. Do not change any of what you want to talk about on this show on my accord. I will still converse. If I ain't got nothing, I don't have nothing. But the days of me sitting there and watching this show and this product that I do not enjoy at all because of blatant and lack of cohesion of anything you can think of that is good, I'm done. So for me, I look at the show was not the best show for me. I'm just not getting enjoyment out of it. The crowd was dead the majority of the night. I went back and watched a couple segments on TV. The crowd didn't sound that bad. If you were in the building, you know the crowd was super dead. Now, I am going off of some of the liveliest crowds I've ever been a part of was Chicago AEW shows. Rhodesia and I have been to probably, and this is no lie, 30 AEW shows. We've traveled to go see AEW. We've seen a lot of them in Chicago. We were at the first Double or Nothing. We have traveled, so I know what that crowd is supposed to be like. And people that go to AEW shows right now, shout out to y'all, because I don't want AEW to die. It's just dead for me for right now. They're there because they think they're supposed to be there. They're not there because they are saying, man, I got to go see AEW. They're there because they know they are the diehards. And if I'm not here, nobody else is going to show up. Let me show up. Case in point, listen to the crowd reactions. Unless it is a chant that allows you to cuss. You fucked up. You sick fuck. Holy shit. There's no energy in the crowd. They just like to use cuss words and chants. Claudio and my guy Ricochet's in the ring, working their tails off. What the fuck do we get? A bald chant. The crowd is so bored. In Chicago, for a show after their pay-per-view, we get a bald chant. And we think it's funny. And we just run with it. Creative is dead. The show is on life support. And you look at their ticket sales. They're diminishing. They're going to smaller venues. Love it. Appreciate it. I think the show's going to do much better on television. But for me, I can no longer just sit here and watch and act like either one, I enjoy it, or two, act like it doesn't bother me. When I look, and I'm going to pull this up. When I look at the Continental Classic, and for me, the Continental Classic is a way of, yes, if you want great matches, yes, it is there for you. It's also a way to get to big matches without a storyline. This Wednesday, they are doing Pac versus Jay White with no build, just for a tournament to say you're the best and you get a championship belt. In 2 weeks, we are getting on Dynamite Will Ospreay versus Darby Allin in the Continental Classic. No build-up, no storyline, no title involved, no personal grudge involved, but it's going to be a great match. It's going to be a fire match. And then it doesn't matter. And that was basically everything that I saw here when it was here in Chicago, Thanksgiving Eve. So, legit, thank you, AEW, for being there for me when I needed you the most. It's a wrap right now for me, though.
Go ahead, Rhodesia. I'd like to hear like our resident AEW expert.
Well, he called your name out. I was gonna say, well, that's it for episode 177 of That's Freakin' Wrestling.
No, we got some great, and that's great too. But we got some fantastic stuff to talk about.
But for real though, Rhodesia, do you feel the same way? Do you echo those sentiments?
Well, I say AEW is dead. No, I wouldn't say that it's dead. I would say that. Well, Matthew also didn't say it was dead. He said it was dead to him. So I just called you your government name. Sorry, my bad.
Government.
I just called you by your government name. I would just say that it's done for me too. But I think I've probably been like that longer than probably both of you. Hence why y'all would make fun of me by not actually watching the show. I still can appreciate wrestling. They carry some of my favorite styles of wrestling matches. So to me, I absolutely still love it. When I was at the show, I got very angry at the ball chant because again, Claudio and Ricochet was killing it in the ring. and we get a ball chant. Like, to me, that's like ultimate disrespect. That's like throwing the beach ball the night after WrestleMania because y'all crowd think y'all more bigger and popping for your own selves, like going into business for your own selves. But these people are in the ring putting their life on the line and their bodies on the line. But for sure, like as far as what we're getting out of entertainment factor, WWE speaking to us kind of even culturally on the hip hop side of things, like they are giving us everything that we need. The whole reason why we branched off from WWE was because we got AEW. AEW to me was like NXT, but with more money, more production. You know, we always said, well, I've always said when Triple H was in NXT, could you imagine if he had WWE main roster money to put on the show? So we got that. And I would never ever forget All In, the very first All In. I mean, those are some gold ball memories. Anybody who watch Inside Out, some gold ball memories for me. But for sure, like that phase in my life is kind of done now. I will still always appreciate them. Some of the best wrestlers in the world wrestle there. So that gimmick to me is still true. Again, it's just that it's nothing that's connecting me to it. If Matt says one day, hey, let's go to an AEW show, hell yeah, I'm down for it because I'm always going to want to watch good wrestling. I love that. That is what I do love. But as far as getting me to tune in every single week and making sure that I'm paying attention to it versus where I'm prioritizing my life versus me getting sleep, whether me making dinner, me getting ready for the next day of work, or watching wrestling, is probably not going to be watching wrestling when it's AEW when I have to prioritize. But overall, I it's cyclical. This business is cyclical. We will eventually come back and say, "Yo, have you been watching AEW? They've been killing it lately," and then something's going to happen. So I hope that would happen, and I'll be there for them. I absolutely would. And I would still try my hardest to try to be in the know because one, this is what we're doing hopefully for a living soon. That we need to know what's happening over there. But overall, it's gonna always give me just good matches. But as far as getting me like I have to tune in because I'm either really pissed off at what happened on the show or I'm really happy to see that underdog about to take the title, it's just not there for me. But I'm okay with that. I've always been okay with that. Y'all love your wrestling and the psychology behind it. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's how you consume wrestling. Maybe in its infancy, that is the whole reason why the big names were big names. And that's what brought people into pro wrestling. But for me, I can appreciate both styles. And I do. But just for me, I'm probably going to say I echo Matt's sentiment just because for something like wrestling, like a hobby like this that we enjoy, it's kind of hard to probably watch that off all on my own when hell I really wasn't watching it a year ago faithfully. But once AEW turns the page and they start saying, hey, you hear the buzz, oh, they killing it again, they doing this, you know, they fired such and such or they hired such and this, I will continuously give them a try. But I completely see, you know, hey, I only can get 6 hours of wrestling. And now that we know that Raw and SmackDown, I believe, is about to go to 3 hours next year, that's my 6 hours of wrestling a week.
Yeah, you know, this is a sad day, man. You know, I wish you know, if I didn't trust Riverside, I would play some, you know, like some funeral music or something like that. Cause this is a sad day. Cause y'all know I got a poke in, you know, I got a poke in prod, you know, I gotta make fun of things, you know what I'm saying? But I've been talking to you guys about this AEW demise for you guys for about 2 years, and y'all was branding me the hater. You know, I'm sorry. And all I'm speaking was logical facts. I'm like, look, it's stories, it's investment. Yeah, they got good matches, but that can only last so long. You gotta, and you can't keep having Darby Allin and Ospreay in matches because you splitting the audience, right? And you don't care who wins these matches. Now you just kind of just watching the match to watch the match, and you can only have so many 5-star matches. You're gonna have so many matches of the year candidates. We talked about this for a long time now, but what I've been warning about and my concern was this very factor where we got hardcore wrestling fans like you guys. I'm not there yet. It's not dead to me. Like it hasn't been dead. Like I like wrestling too much. It's not my cup of tea right now, but I can pick some things that I like from the show and I can keep moving forward. Just like when I watch Raw, I think WWE RAW a couple years ago was in a way worse state than AEW is right now. I gotta tell you, I know it, like, because and here's the problem right now, like with you guys is that, you know, we got good wrestling from WWE, like, right? So you're getting what you need from it, like, right? So we're kind of, as wrestling fans, we're in a better space because a couple years ago we didn't have a lot of options that we can casually see. Like, right? Like, if you wanted to watch other promotions, you had to kind of find it. You had to go on YouTube and get different apps and stuff like that. And that was a little harder to do, like, 5 years ago, right? But now you got the major company doing things in a big way, right? And so now you don't have to sit there and, there's only so much time in the day. Like, right, Rhodesia eloquently said, look, you got dinner, you got to cook. She's a career woman. She got a family, she got a son, she got things she got to do. And there's only so much time, right? You ain't got to sit there and try to find pieces of AEW to watch when you can sit there and casually watch a WWE show and be entertained and get your fill of wrestling for the week. Right. I think that's part of the problem. But with AEW, sometimes you got to kind of hit rock bottom before you can, change and get to the place you need to be. But that's the thing, though. I don't think they're at rock bottom. And that's when we talk about the TV deal, right? I'm like, all right, they got their money, right? Like, they're going to be profitable. That's the rumors, and how we don't know if that's true or not. They got their money, right? So have they really hit rock bottom? Because they got a guaranteed deal for 3 years, right? So regardless if they're doing 700,000 views or 300,000 views, like, they're still getting the same money at the end of the day, right? Now they got to worry about on the renewal time, because 3 years, look, if you're a parent, man, 3 years go by quick. I can't believe we about to be in 2025, at the end of the month, man. Y'all. Like, time goes by quickly, right? So you will hope that they realize that they need to make a change, or, whatever they're doing as far as rating wise, because I didn't think that, 600,000, views a week would get them, like 4 times what they were getting, on the original deal. I understand. I think the original deal was probably like a haircut discount or something like that for them, just to kind of get them on the show. But you never know with that rating that they're getting, that demo they're pulling, what that's going to be worth to networks, right? So I hope things get better. But it all comes down to one person creatively, Tony Khan, and I don't see. I think right now Tony Khan is more like Vince McMahon than I would like. He has
Isn't that crazy, man? Isn't that crazy? He's supposed to be the anti-Vince.
He's supposed to be the anti-Vince, and he, what? His vision of wrestling is different than Vince, right?
Yeah.
But as far as this is my vision. I know what's best for my company. I know what's best for my fans, and we're doing it my way. Even when there's so many metrics, and he's a numbers guy that point against, like, hey, your audience is dwindling every single month. Your buy rates are going down every single month, like, right? But he's steadfast on, hey, this vision, I'm gonna see it to the end. And if you got unlimited money, like it seems like he does, I doubt it changes. But great news is, y'all, we have some great wrestling this weekend, and I don't think that WWE train is slowing down anytime soon. So we'll see.
So are we including Sunday in the great wrestling weekend, or are we going Friday and Monday? I think we could probably skip Sunday with that.
You mean Saturday?
Oh, Saturday, yeah.
Saturday.
Skip Saturday. We're skipping Saturday.
It wasn't that bad. There's a couple of highlights. I thought it was a lot of low lights.
Hey, in Georgia, they say Saturday.
Saturday?
Saturday.
Remember we talked about that? Remember the
Saturday.
Wednesday? Okay, so a couple quick things on that. I'm all about alternatives. Like, if you are the number one in something, if you're just a ripoff of it, you're never going to be number one.
Agreed.
I'm always about alternatives. But let's take John Wick, for instance. John Wick is one of the best action movies. Some people think it's one of the best action movies of all time. Super popular. But we know John Wick is not going to die, and he's going to shoot 5,632 people in his movie. We know it. We're already here for it. AEW is the equivalent of saying, you know what we're going to do? We're going to release a movie, and that movie, 5,000 people got shot in it. We're not going to kill anybody in our movie. They are so steadfast in what they think their vision is. And the problem is, to a certain extent, the bad faith people that come on and just to pile on and shit on AEW. Because it's hard then to see the real legit criticism and valid points to just the noise. Well, you're just hating on AEW for some reason. Dustin Rhodes sent out a tweet a couple hours ago and basically just said, love all wrestling. Like, stop picking on us. I watch all wrestling. And so to a certain extent, I get that, but that's also the reason why they're failing right now is because they're not listening to valid concerns because they think it's all just noise. And it's not all just noise. There are valid concerns to this. Will Ospreay was my number one wrestler in the year 2023. He was number one on my list. I'm not even sure. He's probably in my top 10 this year. He's definitely not in my top 5. That's a problem. And it has nothing to do with him per se. That man should have been world champion in AEW right now, and the promotion should be his. We've sat here as much and said so when he signed, like, oh, that's Will's promotion in a year. Mm-hmm. They're going to crown him at All In, and we off to the races. And here we are having him wrestle matches, which was a great match on the pay-per-view last week. I get it. Takes a tombstone from the ring apron to steel steps outside the ring. Takes a brainbuster on the top turnbuckle in that match. He loses the match, but then he's wrestling the next week on Collision and he beats Juice Robinson. In what world is that logical? So what the hell do we have to do to Will Ospreay to not even have him lose a match, but to put him on the shelf if a tombstone from inside the ring to outside the ring doesn't do it, and a soup or a brain buster from the top turnbuckle onto his head doesn't do it? I saw one tweet, and shout out to my guy, General Booty. I forgot what he switched his name to. General Booty. He's always been General Booty to me. Shout out to Chris. He's on Twitter and X. And I get it. Somebody said something very similar to that around why do the steel step spot? And his response was, damn, y'all just can't enjoy anything, can y'all? And when I saw that, it kind of made me step back for a second. One, I said, okay, there's an age gap between Chris and I. Chris is younger than me, right? I've been watching wrestling damn near going on 40 years. Not to say just because you watch for so long, you're an expert, but I know what I'm looking at. I can tell you when I'm looking at a lot of times as if I was in the business at that time. So I said, okay, there's an age gap. So maybe he's just not used to seeing missteps. But then the other part, I was like, you know what? But this is me, though. And this is me. I said about a month ago when I had to call in on the pod where I couldn't make it, you guys held it down and rocked it out right before Bad Blood, I think it was, or Crown Jewel. I said, I'm going to start giving it up. And I've been holding back on AEW because I don't want to come across as a hater. There's so many times I want to put something out on social media, but I'm like, it's going to get chalked up to just being a hater or a WWE lover. So I don't even want those problems because I don't want to even deal with people.
And you know what, Matt? Not to interrupt because you over there cooking, but sometimes when we would talk and have these conversations, I would get frustrated with our talks on AEW because I'm like, I know he feels differently. Right? I'm like, man, but I know that you love wrestling so much, you felt like look, I got to defend it in the way, right? Which is sad in a way that all that goodwill that AEW had is broken down to the point to where, look, it's unfiltered now. I can't not defend what I'm seeing, right? And which is a sad thing with the company. But, just talk about, I know you go to General Booty, I'll let you go back to him. I saw it as one account, man. I don't know when I started following it, but I immediately muted it. Because I don't want to put it out there because that's not what I do. I'm not going to put it out there.
Is it a really, really pro AEW account?
Yes.
I know exactly who it is. And I muted that account.
And I'm like, I mute all, if it was a WWE
same.
One, them Shield ones or them AEW, if
same
you making
ones.
over, look, this is fun, y'all. For you to come out there saying this ridiculous stuff one way or the other, it's ridiculous, man. It's it's politics. I don't want to hear that shit, right?
Yep.
But this one goes, the spot at Survivor Series. No, we're Survivor Series War Games. We're gonna get into it. It's the spot where Jacob, no sold the toolbox spot.
Okay.
All right. He no sells this spot, right? And he chose the video, and but when this happens in AEW, you guys pitch a fit, something to that degree, right? And the problem is what you're talking about is that no, these things happen in every single match with everyone. You got Darby Allin, who's 5'6". He's no selling everything. You got Will Ospreay. They're no selling everything. You're seeing these big, huge spots that should kill people, and these guys are getting up the next day. Even Swerve, when he no sold Bryan Danielson is his finisher. Like everyone on this show no sells everyone or quickly recovers out of nowhere, right? If everyone's doing it, it's not important when it happens. Like, right? At least with Jacob, like he's the only dude no selling something. I felt like that spot was a bit much, but at the end of the day, he's the only person with that superpower. Like, right? That's his thing. That's special on to him. You don't see anybody else no selling it to the degree that he no sells. So now at the end of the day, if that's what you want to do to make him special, that's cool. But it's not special when everybody's doing it.
When everybody does it. And to your point, Samoans, that is the thing. They have hard heads. You can't hurt their heads, right? Like that's been a thing since we've been watching wrestling as kids. He was like,
that's
the Wild Samoans. You headbutt the Wild Samoans, your head hurts, not theirs.
Your head hurts. That's a thing.
That's always been a thing.
So when you can say that's goofy, right? But that's unique to them, right? That's in the key word. And again, I'm with you, Matt. Like, it's the age difference, but that's something that everyone should understand. What uniqueness is, what's special on to that person, what's their special power and their uniqueness, right? It's just like a comic book. If everyone has the same damn special superpower, it ain't super no more. It's common. It's normal.
It's common. Think about Jeff Hardy back in the day. Imagine if everybody was as resilient as Jeff Hardy was and was as small as Jeff Hardy, can take on the Giants and still live to fight another day. Jeff Hardy doesn't mean anything.
Here's my thing, though, and I don't want to come out sounding like being just anti what y'all saying, but y'all got to remember, and it's not necessarily an age thing, it's just how you consume the pro wrestling. So where you guys are talking about the psychology of the match, and everything you saying is right on the nose. You talk about the Wild Samoans, you talk about Jeff, you talk about certain people who this is Jacob. He is the only one who's doing that no selling right now. That's who he is. He's a werewolf. But for some people, I'm going to just bring in boxing, for instance. You have people who would love to see light heavyweights and smaller people go the distance, go 12 rounds, just going back and forth, punching, countering, probably moving around the ring, doing nothing. And then there's some people who just really want to just see a knockout. So it's just the preference and how you want to consume your wrestling. So for sure, when you talk about straight storylines, getting people like invested into the story, AEW can't even compare to WWE. But when you're talking about just the art of watching pro wrestling, there is a group of people who can truly enjoy just match after match. I was thinking about what you said about Will Ospreay coming back, which again, you make perfect sense. Just on Sunday you wrestled, and now Wednesday you're wrestling again, and you're not really beat up, and you win over Juice. The point is, I remember Tony saying something a few years ago. He came out and said, I'm about putting on the best possible card for when you come to my show. So in his eyes, that's what he has. And for some people, that's how they consume wrestling. They don't care about the storyline. They don't care about how you're supposed to feel in those emotions. They just want to watch action. And I think I have to come on here, and I will be remiss if I did not bring that side of it up. What y'all are saying is absolutely true. And that's the reason why WWE is making hand over fist, charging $2,000 for one seat at WrestleMania. But I'm just saying that in full transparency, I still can enjoy watching wrestling without having to worry about a storyline. Because some people, that is when they watch UFC. There's no true storylines in UFC. Outside of maybe if you've been watching it for years and and they do the little build up right before the match. But overall, before the fight, it's just fight to fight. Month to month, maybe every 3 months you have a super heavy card. So again, like I said, I don't want to go against what y'all saying, because what y'all saying is true, and I probably align more with y'all on that too, because I just said I'm probably not going to watch AEW and go out of my way. But there are a group of people who do not care about storyline at all, and that's truth. Jacob not selling that toolbox. If we saw that in AEW, we would call that same thing out. But again,
I would, because he's Samoan. I'm telling you, I wouldn't.
Okay,
he's
so
Samoan.
because he's Samoan.
That is a Samoan gimmick.
Yeah.
So so that's a valid point. And then we can move on after this. After you guys give me what you got after I say this here. The issue, and yes, if you go to independent, and I support independent wrestling so much, y'all, you guys know that there is no storylines for the most part. You may get where it is a tag team or the champion of that territory runs a story throughout their indie shows, but for the most part, no, they're just matches. That's not the issue. The issue is we see these indie wrestlers at most once a month. After that, maybe every 6 months, every year. depending on if you go every single time. We're watching AEW weekly. You're telling a television show. And when your numbers are rapidly declining, I think they had 4,500 down there in Chicago at Wintrust. From 7,000 the show before to...
Just this year, right?
Correct. To always being in the 10,000s and plus a few years ago. Every time they hit the market. Somebody in my comments was like, well, they've oversaturated the market. And he wrote 4 tweets to me. Shout out to you. Thanks for your feedback. But you're wrong. Has nothing to do with how much they come here. They've been coming here like that for 4 years. 1 year outside because of COVID. The company's been around for 5 years. And Chicago's always been a hot market. The reason why they didn't sell this time is because there's nothing for people to invest in. WrestleTix put up a tweet, 2 tweets today surrounding their ticket prices or their ticket sales. There was a Collision in January that sold 609 tickets. There is a Dynamite that has sold less than 1,000 tickets in January. That should be alarming. And this is not a comparison, but when Roman Reigns and CM Punk can get 103 million views in 48 hours on Roman Reigns holding the steel cage so he can't get out the cage. Not a wrestling move, not a promo. It's one action that is non-physical. And that's 103 million views just on that one media reel. That should tell you, okay, if our numbers are dropping and we are hearing concerns about our storytelling or our TV show, maybe let's take a step back and let's say, okay, what is valid? Is there validity to our stories either not being there or not making sense? Is there validity to you making Adam Cole look like the dumbest piece of shit in the world and he's fighting against MJF, who's right, by the way, in this entire storyline, and it's not working? You're not getting a reaction. This entire thing is not working, but we're going to continue to roll with it. You got Camille, who was put with Mercedes with no plan, evidently, because Mercedes does not need a heater. She doesn't work out. She turns and just saying like, okay, I'm out of here.
She quits.
And then from what I heard, she gets beat down on Rampage, and we may not see her again on AEW from what they were saying. These things just don't make sense. So, yes, I would love for AEW to come back. Anybody who listens to the show knows I'm not an AEW hater like that. But for me, I just can't do it because it bothers me. It irritates me. And it sucked. I was sitting there with Little Matt, and we were looking, and he almost took the words of my mouth. I'm just looking. I'm like, man, this ain't it no more.
That's regular size, man. He ain't little.
Yeah, like, he's, man, dude, he's going to be graduating, man, in May. You were talking about time flying by, dude. Like, whoa.
He a grown-ass man up in y'all house.
Man. And he felt the same way. He still really, really likes it when he watches it. Pay-per-views, he's like, man, that was a great show. And I'll be sitting there like, this shit sucks. But I'm not going to just tell him everything sucks. I don't want to be that person. I'm not going to take your joy away. But even at the show, he was like, man, I think every match was good. On Dynamite, it's just like, there's just nothing to it. But he's like, I think every match was good that I watched. And once again, that's just what it is. So that's where I'm at with it.
But you know what, Matt, you're right.
Yeah.
Matt's experience, and then what Rhodesia said, like, hey, there's an audience for this. But yes, that's true, right? Because there's an audience for anything, like, right? But what Matt we're talking about is just the consistency of that audience, right? Because there's an audience for like strange and exotic foods, right? And you can say, oh, you should try this restaurant, but how often are you going to go to that restaurant? It's not your weekly restaurant. It's not the one that you go to every month. It's the one you go to maybe every year. You go there every couple months, right? You rant and rave, but in your mind and your heart, like, hey, that ain't the restaurant I'm going to. That ain't my weekly go-to spot. That's the spot I go to every couple of months or whatever the case may be. That's what AEW is becoming for a lot of people. Like, look, matches are great, but for a lot of people, they need more. And like, if you are an AEW fan, like, and this is the problem with like these AEW shield pages and even the WWE shield pages, right? They say things and it's completely one-sided.
Right.
You can't look at these shows, right? Let me just bring up this little tweet real quick. I actually had it up, and because it was astonishing that people thought this. But AEW is going to the Hammerstein ballroom.
Yeah. That was the whole thing with GCW. That whole situation.
The whole thing, right? And so This is a venue is historical, but it seats, I think, at capacity about 1,400 people. Right now, there's some AEW haters like, oh, AEW can't sell that out. I'm like, right, like, damn, y'all don't think they can do at least 1,000, 1,200 people? Right? Like, y'all don't think they can realistically do that?
Yeah.
Now, the sad thing is, that's a historic, place, but we're talking about, hey, they need to move smaller arenas. We want them to go back to 10,000 because that was a big deal. No other wrestling promotion can go to a 10,000 seat arena and sell it out. Like, right? Other than WWE, no other company TNA wasn't doing that. The last company to do this was WCW, and that was damn near 30 years ago, right? When you got another major show. And so you go from a company that is rivaling WWE for popularity, ticket sales, fan engagement, to now they got to go down to 1,000-seat arena. Like, right? That means that regardless of the audience that they're creating, they can't create a large enough audience. And actually, they've lost damn near at this point. If you're going from 10,000 to 1,200, Rhodesia, I'm not the math person. That's you. That's gotta sound like an 80% decline in 5 years. Right? So
80% decline.
So when we talk about like there's an audience, a very small audience that can appreciate that. And here's the thing: there's more people like me, right? Like if I get bad service or I get turned off on something, I don't go write a review. I don't go on Twitter and talk about it. I don't go write a review about it.
Yeah.
I don't go ask for a manager. I just stop coming. If I go to your restaurant and I don't like the food, I ain't going there no more. I don't need to talk to nobody about it. I don't need to make a phone call, a text, a tweet. I don't need to go on the gram. I don't need to do nothing but not go no more. Right? And there's a lot of people that say, you know what? AEW is cool, but it ain't for me. I'm just not going to watch anymore. And they're quietly doing that every single week. And that's the problem that I hope they solve sooner or later, because look, I know they got a great relationship, and I don't know how bad it can be, because like they're barely getting 600,000 people to watch their shows now, and now we're going to smaller arenas. That's going to make the shows look. Hope the feel is better, the energy is better. Like right, the energy is contagious now. Instead of everybody being spread out, in a 10,000 seat arena, now they're all smushed in. And positive vibes is good vibes, so maybe that comes across on TV. But man, they got to fix some things, y'all. But we about 37 minutes in. We got a lot of WWE to talk about, man. Y'all ready to move on? Y'all got something else?
No, I'm. Where do you want to start with? So, do you want to hit War Games? What you got on War Games? Do you want to go Raw and then go back to War Games? If you do want to start with Raw, are we starting with Sami, Punk, and Seth? Are we starting with Drew returning? Like we got a lot of shit
to talk. Hey, let's
finish talking about the trash. Let's finish talking about the trash.
Let's go in order, right?
Saturday night. Let's talk about Saturday night.
Let's Saturday night. So hey, I want to start with real quick with y'all on this women's match. I got a different perspective. Just today, I actually just gained a different perspective. I know Rhodesia, you said this is going to be your match of the night. Like, so tell me, what did you feel about the show?
Why don't you start off with what you about to say? You
hey, hold on a second. Look.
Can't do that.
Hey, he's such a shit starter. Hey, look, he set it up perfectly. Yes. He set the plate up.
You tell
he
us
put all the food. He had the Thanksgiving trimmings out. Well, speaking of, you never put a picture up on social media with either a stuffing or what was the other one?
Oh, that's in my belly, y'all. I'm sorry, y'all.
So which one? So was it stuffing or was it dressing? What was the other one?
Dressing. Oh, matter of fact, I will, because we went through that. I think it's dressing really quickly.
Hey,
Katrina just made a new plate for your boy today. I'm like, all right. I'm like, baby, you really do love me, right? I gave.
So was it dressing or stuffing?
I don't know. I'll take a picture and I'll post it.
Take a picture.
I got a full uneaten pot downstairs.
That's dressing. So, it gotta be dressing.
So I was waiting on that picture.
I'll let y'all know. But no, I actually have a different perspective. I'm actually not poking the bear this time. Okay. You never can tell with me. They like, look, they don't know when I'm poking the bear, but I'm not poking the bear this time. You definitely were.
No, because your voice dropped and everything. Like you set it up, but he was just like, Rhodesia, why don't you tell us what you thought?
Yeah. Yeah, like no, you tell me what you thought prior to your revelation.
Yeah, so what's the general consensus? You didn't say if you thought it was great until today or you thought it was bad until today. You just said you got a different perspective.
So I'll get into my thoughts. I actually just today, I was listening to Busted Open.
Okay.
And Billy Ray had kind of chimed in, and he brought light to some things. But before I talk about what Billy Ray said, and how it kind of changed my mind a little bit. I had Brandon over, and Brandon's a little sick. Get well soon, fam. He's gonna come over. He came over. We watched the show together. His young son is really into the show. He watched a little bit. My kids came over, and we were like ready for action-packed night, man. We like, oh, this is a lot gonna happen. And it wasn't it, man. It's funny that we were all on the same accord because, at the end of the show, Brandon and I looked at each other. He's like, yeah, I don't think we need to do a pod tonight. I was like, yeah, I'll see what Matt says tomorrow, and we'll go from there. And, lo and behold, Matt sent the text in the morning. I slept in too. I don't think we need to do a pod tonight. I was like, yeah, we agree. So, but going to this match, man, I just told, I'm the type of fan, I try not to critique wrestlers' work, right? Because I've never been a worker. I wouldn't even bump. I got into a ring and, wrestlers like, hey, you want to take a bump? I could train. I'm like, no, I'm good. I don't take that. Because I touched that mat and it was hard as shit. I'm not today, man. I need to go to work tomorrow. I'm not ready for this today, right? So I'm not a worker. So I try not to kind of critique people's work like that, right? Because I'm not trained, right? For me, I'm just going to say if it's good or not, or what it looks like to me as a fan, right? I'm not going to sit there and say, this person's a bad worker or not worker. Just from the eye test, the women, and particularly Nyla, Nia had a rough night. And a lot of the strikes coming from her, they look really soft, almost embarrassing in somewhat. Like, I have, Brandon's over and he actually, likes wrestling. But, for instance, my brother-in-law, he's one of them guys that makes fun of if something is looking stupid, he gonna call it out. He gonna rag on it the whole night. He gonna make a joke of it the whole night. Like, right? Yeah, he one of them guys. He gonna make fun of it the whole night. And she, like, a lot of the strikes it's a lot of light, I think the term they use for it, but it just looks really soft. The overall match itself, it wasn't there for me. I think the one spot where EO, he saw it coming. She got on the top little thing, the little plate. She put the trash can on. She did the flip, and Tiff was on the other side. She did the flip, but they're all going at the same time, and you can tell Tiffany's waiting for EO to go, and she's trying to time it the same way, but she's waiting, right? And for me, I'm like, man, this looks just ridiculous. Like, if you're gonna dive, do the dive. Why is you waiting? Like, right?
If you
and then you got the girls
dive.
He was definitely on some Roman shit right there, wasn't he? He was like, if you die, you die. Just jump.
You got the girls holding each other, singing Kumbaya, oh my Lord, Kumbaya, swinging side to side, about to catch him. And and maybe that particular spot wouldn't have been so bad for me had the match not gone the way it gone up to that point. But it's just a lot, man. You got the girls looking for weapons, and they can't find the weapons. And I'm like, man, what? Didn't somebody tell these women where the weapons were before they got to the ring? Like, why is every woman, when they run down to the ring, looking for a damn weapon, and they don't know where it is? Like, it's like every single one of them is like, here comes such and such, can't find a weapon. Let me go to the other side. Here comes such and such, can't find a weapon. Let me go. Like, it just was like the match just wasn't good. So I say all to say this. I was listening to Busted Open, and Billy Ray was giving it. He was talking about the Nia for specifically because Nia had some time on Sunday because she was going back and forth people. On Twitter. One guy said, "Hey, we need to sit down and have a serious talk about Nia and her work." And she replied back, "I'm sitting down right now." Like, right? Like, she had time.
Come on, man. Like, she has had an incredible year and a half. Like, are we really? I don't care if she had the worst performance in history of life at War Games. You cannot take away what she's done over the last year. So, but once again, E, to your point, that's one of those. I'm going to assume he hates Nia Jax, and whatever would have happened, I'm gonna roll with it because that's just what I hate. The same way we got the pro and the con AEW and WWE fans.
Well, I think it was another match that was kind of a little wonky, but essentially this is what I wanted to talk to you guys about. I want to hear you guys' opinion. See if you guys were close to how I was prior to listening to Billy talk. He started talking about the chair strikes, right? And how soft those chair strikes looked, right? She was barely hitting these girls. He's tapping them. And I'm like, man, I'm watching as a fan. I'm like, man, she's overly cautious about hurting these girls to the point that it don't look good. Like, right. But Billy was like, part of the problem with that, he pointed out Naomi, for instance. When it was time to hit Naomi, she didn't give her body to Nia.
She said,
So
"No,
I mean,
bitch."
so like
she
as far
actually
as
said it, yeah.
Did you hear?
So-
Did you hear that? E?
She said it.
When she called her a bitch. Yeah, she was like, "No, bitch."
so I guess in that moment, like, look, he's like, she didn't want to take the hit, right? So she's supposed to kind of open up to give her a place so she can hit, right? So it's in the back. She got to kind of straighten out, give her back to her so she can hit her, right? She kind of flinched up. So now Nia doesn't have a place to safely hit her, like, right? So instead of just wildly striking her anywhere, which can, injure her or hurt her,
break an elbow, all that.
She did what she did, right? So then she kind of hit her, and Naomi don't drop down. Instead of giving her back, right? She kind of put her hands up, right? Now where's she supposed to hit her, like, right? So she kind of hit her where she hit her, right? So a lot of these spots, and there's another backdrop where Nia almost spiked herself flipping over. They was talking about, like, when you're doing a backdrop, you got to kind of post them so they can safely flip over, and they kind of lifted her and made Nia, who's a bigger girl, do all the work herself, right?
Mm-hmm,
which is not common to, like, the work. So specifically what he was saying is that in a lot of these spots, like, you had these women who didn't seem comfortable with the physicality of using these weapons, right? They didn't know how to use the weapons, and more importantly, they didn't know how to take the weapons, right? So now she's trying to protect people. You're like, hey, okay, you're not in the right position for me to hit you clean without hurting or injuring you. This is what I'm going to do instead. So for his point, he was like, it's kind of the opposite, to where these girls are putting Nia in a position to look poorly by not giving them the body. And he just kind of went down a list that there's certain wrestlers. He even mentioned Sheamus. He's like, Sheamus is a guy, he's very physical in the ring, but he doesn't like to get hit with weapons. Like, right. He's like, if you look at the way he takes, like, certain chair shots, and where he doesn't open himself up like he should take these watts, because he doesn't want to get hit. He mentioned, he said something about, like, and he talked about sometimes you have to be trained to take these moves properly, on these weapons properly. He mentioned, like, John Cena. He said, if you watch John Cena take a power bomb, which I never noticed, I think all his stuff looks awkward anyway. But he said he puts his elbows straight back when he goes to take a power bomb, because John doesn't feel comfortable taking a power bomb the correct way with his back. So he uses his elbows to kind of brace himself, which makes the move look awkward.
He damn near sits down when he takes the move.
Exactly.
It's not a flat back, yeah.
And so what he was essentially, just to sum up, I'm tossing you guys, he said that the big problem with this and why Nia looked the way she looked is because she was trying to take care of these women, because they weren't giving her their bodies properly to take these weapon spots. And to me, it's like, look, if you got people in a situation that aren't trained to do something or aren't comfortable to do something, why put them in that position? Like, right? It's like kind of if you're in a basketball game, if I got to do, who's a rebounder and he can't shoot threes, why am I going to put him at the 3-point line? Like, right? I'm not going to throw you at the 3-point line if you ain't got the skill to do it. So I don't know what was talked about beforehand to where, like, look, if you're not comfortable taking these spots, let's do something else that looks better, that feels better. Like, right? I don't know what conversations we have, but Bully made me kind of like turn my mind the other way. Like, okay, maybe this wasn't Nia. Nia actually is trying to go out of her way to protect these women, and she just won't put in the best position to do so.
That's good enlightenment and good inside wrestling observations. What I will say about the match, because it doesn't change, what you just said doesn't change how I feel about the match. I'm gonna start first with with a couple of good things, and then I'll go into the not so good things. Bianca outfit, I think some fan made it, and I thought it looked fantastic. So bravo to that. And I really liked the spot where they had the art of distraction. I think it was EO with the fire extinguisher, and it got to Rhea put the handcuffs on Raquel. Thought that was so clever. So those are two really great spots that I loved about the match. Now going into just overall feedback of the match, they had very high expectations for me, or I had very high expectations for this match. Only because this has been probably the not as cleanest, the not as exciting War Games women's match that I've seen in WWE. 35 to 40% of the women that was in that match has been in other War Games, and it hadn't looked this almost choreographed, like trying to get their timing right. We know when there's chaos, there's chaos. And what I wrote in my notes here, it was a whole bunch of chaos with nothing to sink your teeth in. It's just a lot of stuff going on. My biggest critique of this match was the chair shots. And it wasn't necessarily Nia not giving it to them. My whole thing is, if you're not going to be able to execute a chair shot, put the chairs down. You don't have to have chairs hidden here and there and there and there. We have a whole bunch of other things to use inside of the War Games cage. So to me, that was my only thing, because once you saw that Naomi wasn't taking it or whomever else wasn't taking it right, then let it go. It's not working. So if you're not going to take it, then you're not going to take it. I'd never really complained about Nia and how she was maybe not given. I never cared about how Nia looked. So what I should say, what I would say is that it just felt like everything was just, you're trying to get to your spot. You're just trying to get to your spot. And kind of like when we talked about the prior Jade, where like you're trying to, your timing getting to where you need to get to. That spot with Tiffy and Io trying to do the moonsault and the swan dive, whatever, that was just so awkward to me. Like you just said, just go, Tiffy. You already up there. You're literally staring at her. I remember when I used to be a performer when I was younger, it was always like, you don't look to your left and your right. If you know your spot, execute it and go and do it. It's when you're looking and you're trying to time everybody else is when it's going to look bad. I just feel that we as fans, and mainly me, has so high expectations for that women's war game, because we have seen, there has been years where I said the women's war game was way better than the men's. So when I've had those years, to get what we got last Saturday was a letdown. Now, I'm not going to hate on anybody who's getting in there, getting their body hurt on and beat on, but it just was not a good match to me. I'm glad Billy was able to give some insight as far as why Nia maybe looked the way that she looked. I never really blamed her, like, I think inside, but it just wasn't a good match. It just wasn't. It was just too much going on.
That women's War Games match, before the last 6 to 8 minutes, was the worst WWE main event match in 2024. It was. They saved it at the end. The match just wasn't good. The match wasn't good. You talk about the spot, the moonsault spot. Well, the reason why she was looking to her left is because they were supposed to jump at the same time. You know that. Yeah, that's the spot. That makes no sense. But this is one of those, we just talked about it for 33 minutes of this podcast. If you enjoy it just to enjoy it, you're going to enjoy it. Mm-hmm. Because somebody, and I got a text here of one of the somebodies, thought the match was great. And they look at that and say, man, how incredible was that? They both jumping off the cage at the same time. That was awesome. This is awesome. We look at it maybe a little bit different. Like, what the fuck? That was stupid. Like, why would you jump at the same time? Like, if maybe they were telling a story throughout the entire match of what you can do, I can do better. They do that spot, and maybe what you can do, I can do better leads to one of them losing, and then there's a feud afterwards. I'm all about it.
But you know what, Matt? I think on paper that would have been a cool spot. I think on paper that's a cool spot. I think on paper that is, but it was execution. Like, right? And I guess in some ways you gotta wait for Io to put the trash can on her, right? Which is part of the thing for Tiffy. But it's like, man, like, you know, like, look, like, you know, it's funny. Like, Rhodesia said something. It was funny, you know, that we talk about like roles or something like that. She's like, yeah, I look for a shortcut. I'm always looking for a shortcut, but it got to be a planned, executed, proven shortcut. I'm all about planning and over planning, right? I'm like in my mind when I do things, I'm like the Kobe. I gotta have counters. Like, if this don't work, I gotta have this. I have like multiple things in my head about how I want to take things. So to me, like when I take a shortcut, it's not a risk for me because I've already kind of thought in my head about if this falls through, I have this plan. And if I don't have those counters in place, I typically won't take the shortcut, right? So when you got this spot set up, you got to have like, where's your counters? Like, okay, if it takes Io too long to get up there, what can Tiffy do to where it doesn't like she's just standing there awkwardly waiting for her to get in position? Like, what, like, and I ain't the smartest man. Like, there's people pay way more money in that company than me to kind of think this far ahead when these things are coming up. Like, why wouldn't you have something for her to do if she had to wait? Like, you should have a couple of things in place for these kind of awkward positions. But keep going, Matt.
Well, but to that point, I think I get what you're saying. And that's the in-between stuff. That's the stuff that before Jay got to WWE, I said that's what she's missing the most of, the in-between stuff. What do you do in between your big moves? What do you do while you're bumping? Like that part. But to be fair, shoot him some bell, E. If you're up 15, 20 feet up in the air, it ain't
And
shit
this
to
was
do but
her
wait.
first one.
Wait and jump. Like I don't need you to emote. I don't need you to taunt. I don't need you to do anything. And you just wait to jump. So yeah, you gotta give him a little bit bell there. But yeah, the match wasn't the match wasn't that good. It just wasn't good. That's fine. And that's fine when it's one match that wasn't good.
Mm-hmm.
We've spent 55 minutes shitting on everything. Let's cleanse our palate. Triple threat was the match of the night. I said on the preview part of our last pod that I felt like outside of any of the War Games matches, this would be the match of the night. Bravo, Braun Breaker, Sheamus.
Ludwig.
He's special.
Yeah.
Ludwig and Braun Breaker. I talk a lot about body control when it comes to wrestling. He has the best body control in wrestling right now. Braun Breaker. That shoulder tackle that he hit. That looked like if it was a fatality, it would have blew his entire torso off. There wasn't much impact there in a good way. It looked incredible. The way they shot it, I thought was fantastic. Probably one of the best shoulder tackles I've ever seen in wrestling history. But if you go back and watch, it was not much impact. You talk about that's body control and being safe in the ring. When you can run 22 miles an hour to the ropes and then stop on a dime clothesline and not kill the person you just clothesline, you're doing something right. He's tremendous. You guys know I'm super high on Braun Breaker. But Sheamus, we gave him a little bit of a segment a couple weeks ago where I'm like, damn, has he had a bad match? Like, when's the last time he's had a bad match? Another streak. I thought that was tremendous. For me, that was the match of the night, and I think by far. I really enjoyed the men's War Games match. I did. But I think still this one was the one.
And I don't like triple A's. So in general, I don't like triple A's, but that match was something special. And again, it just goes back to, I take my hat off to Sheamus, because who knows if he doesn't like to give his body to moves. I've always felt like he hits hard and he gets hit hard back. So maybe it's just like the actual chairs and stuff that he doesn't want to take. But Sheamus to me is just like Natalia for the guys. Like, if you need somebody to make sure that your match is fundamentally sound, but it's also it's hard hitting. Naomi's not hard hitting, not Naomi, Natalia. But you get what I'm saying. Just someone who's just so fluid and seasoned and veteran in the ring. Like, I love that. And he has just like that brute fighting style, again, which I'm not too crazy about, but I love every single one of Sheamus matches. So that just tells me that he's even more valuable than what I even think, because those are the kind of matches I don't really care for, but every time I watch him in one of those matches, he's killing it. So bravo to them. And Sheamus, I want to give you all your flowers right now while you're still wrestling.
Yeah, it was a good match, guys. I don't have a lot to add. If you guys don't mind, because we got a lot of raw to talk about. I want to get right into the men's War Games. I'm just going to get right to the point for me. Good match, but I was underwhelmed by the finish.
I was going to ask both of y'all. Remember, there it is. I asked y'all. Remember, and Rhodesia, look, she already tried to renege. Let's see if she does it again.
No, I'm not.
I asked y'all on the last show. I said, hey, if there is no type of shenanigans outside of who was in that match, would you guys like feel a little let down? Because both of you guys are like, look, I'm here for the bullshit. I'm here for the shenanigans. So I was really interested to see what you thought, E. And then Rhodesia tried to renege, and so I thought it was great. I'm like, but you didn't say that on the pod, so you can't thought it was great. So what was the letdown for you, E, when it comes to?
I was a little underwhelmed, man. It was the match itself was really good. Like the match seemed like the finale of something. Like babyfaces won clean. Babyfaces won clean. Solo got pinned once again. So at this point,
I took everybody's finish.
Took everybody's finish.
As if it was a damn house show.
Yep.
So it seems natural that we would have a Sheamus, God damn it, Solo versus Roman match. Right? But at this point, Solo has no heat. He's getting pinned all the time. Now you could say maybe he had to take everyone's finish in order to go down, and now it's 1-1. Sheamus. I keep saying Sheamus. Solo.
Sheamus, I like
Roman
that.
Solo.
Solo's a new
Give that
Sheamus.
man them
Right?
flowers.
Hell
Give
yeah.
him them flowers.
It's 1-1 Roman Solo, right? And we're gonna have the
You
match.
can do that. You could do that.
And they probably will, but man,
Yeah.
like it's like, bro, he going down. He loses to all the big matches. But it seemed like it seemed like the baby faces won and won clean, right? They were able to stand all above. They gave the big bad guy boss their finish. You know, they did the bow at the end. They all hugged. You know, Roman and CM Punk, they cool. Everybody's cool. Like Sammy and CM Punk, I guess had a beef I didn't know about until I watched that match. Like they're cool now, and they all posing at the end. It just seemed like a sudden finale,
Like it was
right
over.
that I didn't expect. Like right,
Like it was
like
over.
it seemed like that story is over. Now maybe it's not. Like that's just what they want us to think. But damn, like
it better not be over.
like it seems
You know
like
what we
that's
gotta
it.
do?
It's a wrap.
No, man. I know, but
like it's a wrap right
that's-
now.
So when I said like I really liked the match, I thought the match was great. I thought that was a great match. I really did. I enjoyed the Jay and Jimmy spots. I enjoyed the entire thing. I'm not gonna lie. But now we do know why they made such a big deal out of CM Punk being the 5th member. Outside of the stories that's coming out of this, we damn sure got to get to the favor. We're going to talk about what y'all think the favor is. But outside of that, it was because that's all they had. Like there was no Rock showing up. There was no swerve of Sammy, you know, doing some with his phone. Y'all remember that whole thing. And he's going to defect. There was no Solo defecting and going back with the OG bloodline. There was nothing outside of just the 5-on-5. Good guys beat the bad guys. And all 3 of us said we thought 2.0 was going to win because this thing needs to continue. So it's going to be super interesting now that, to Eve's point, it feels like it's over. In terms of if this is wrestling logic 101, bad guy takes all the finishers. Good guys leave together hand in hand, and then we just completely move on to CM Punk and Roman Reigns outside of what I thought we were doing, which is continuing Bloodline 2.0, showing domination over a beaten and battered Roman Reigns that doesn't have the answers, to the final boss showing up and either doing the 1, 2, 3 sign language again, or maybe going to 4 this time. And who knows what that means? We're like, oh shit, okay, he's coming for Roman now. It was just kind of like, no, this is what War Games was. We stamped it, and now we're moving kind of on. So yeah, I feel you on that. But I thought it was a great match. I did
too. I felt like maybe because I was on a high from the IC championship, and maybe because I knew on the Women's War Games I was let down. Just from the aura from the beginning of the match, I thought they did it right. They let Jay come out last on the good side, which was like, wow, somebody on the Roman's team, Roman coming out before them. Like that to me was like powerful in that moment for me. The CM Punk, which you talk about, the 103 million views. Just it was a lot of aura, a lot of excitement around the match. And then when the War Games got started and ended, everything that you mentioned, Solo taking on everything. I originally came on this show and said I would be pissed if we didn't have something big happen at the end of War Games. Well, as soon as War Games was over, you asked me, how do you feel now? And then Rock didn't show up. And I told you I was completely satisfied. I was excited about what I got from the moment that the first people started coming out all the way until the end of the match when everybody's putting their ones up. And then even when they were up the ramp and CM Punk had already went ahead of them, and then somehow CM Punk came back, I'm like, oh, something about to happen. CM Punk wouldn't go get a chair or a bat or something. And then he just came back just to get the pictures and stuff like
Paul,
that. I'm like,
Paul told him to go back out there for the final shot.
I'm like, yo, something's about to happen. And then no, it didn't. But overall, I was completely satisfied with that match. I was not let down that we didn't get a Rock return or we didn't get something super crazy happen.
I do wonder if the crowd was let down at all. I don't think they were, because I think that was probably a really fun show to watch live. But we talk about how much money we're spending for these tickets now with WWE. Premium live events. It's a big 4 pay-per-view now. It kind of just felt like, all right, that was it. But they more than made up for it on Monday. They more than made up for it on Monday. CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Sami Zayn. CM Punk first. What's the favor? If you had to guess, you got to give me a guess. You had to guess what the favor is.
Part of the Bloodline storyline. I told you I can't book the storyline.
Okay. What is your guess? My guess is, and I don't know how, but of course it's connected to main event in WrestleMania. I don't know what he thinks Paul Heyman can do for him with that. Because at first, I say I thought it was going to be Roman and Punk as the first Raw in January. Still may be. But he's really about this favor. And he did the whole thing on Raw where he pointed to the imaginary WrestleMania sign. He's like, you guys know what this is about. That was his big thing before he left WWE. The first time was he never got a chance to main event WrestleMania. So then it's like, okay, but what does he think Heyman can do? What, if Roman wins the Royal Rumble, Heyman to talk Roman into giving him the title shot? Like, I do think it's going to be something where Punk is going to tell Roman, like, I saved your ass.
Literally.
It was me that helped you win War Games. Now you got to pay him back, and you're going to do it through Paul Heyman. So it has to do something with a main event match. Is it maybe he wants a match with Roman, and that's the favor? Like, what do you guys think if you had to bet?
I'm sorry, I'm popping myself over here. When you said CM Punk was up there pointing, thought he was pointing to John Cena.
Wow. All right, E, can you answer the question while she gets herself together over there? Because she is done for. She may not make it for the rest of the show.
You can't see him.
and then she has to explain the joke like we didn't know what she meant. She is off camera having a fit. E, what you got, man? E, save us, E.
So, what if it's not Roman Reigns related at all?
Okay.
What if it's just Paul Heyman using his persuasive skills and negotiation skills and tactics to negotiate a main event championship match at Mania? Right? You said it. Like, that's something he's never had. He's always wanted. Is that he's always wanted that WrestleMania match, right? So what if that favor is him main eventing night 1 or night 2, probably night 1 of a WrestleMania, and as a champion, as a championship? I think that is something he may look for. I don't, because you think about it, like CM Punk and Roman Reigns on any card will be blockbuster.
Yeah.
But give me something else, right? Because at this point, like I don't think you see Roman Reigns with the championship on the line. It's possible CM Punk could be a champion and they wrestle, but that would make sense. Maybe it's just Paul Heyman negotiating that stipulation in that contract, right? And that's something like, especially on the Raw brand, right? I can see Adam Pearce being open to that type of thing.
Okay.
Like, let's say, it's Drew McIntyre and Seth, like, right? And they're wrestling, at WrestleMania. Well, CM Punk automatically negotiation gets that buy,
gets into the match or whatever that looks like, or something like. So you think it's connected to Heyman doing the bidding for him to get a title match?
Correct.
Got it. Okay, Rhodesia, what'd you think?
I'm sorry, when I was popping myself, I didn't hear the question.
Wow. Okay, I said, what do you think the favor is?
Oh, I remember I said I couldn't book it. It's part of the bloodline. When Punk made a comment, I think maybe he pointed to the WrestleMania sign, and he said it was conflicting in my head because Heyman can't necessarily make the main event match, so maybe that's what I'm conflicted at. Like, if it was somebody else, then yes, maybe it could be something like if Roman wins the Rumble or whatever, that he's going to have to give up his position to Punk. If I have to throw something weird out there, that's what I'm gonna say. Let's say if through Elimination Chamber or through Royal Rumble, if Roman gets the position to go to main event, and CM Punk does not get the chance to go to a main event, that he's going to have to convince Roman.
Forfeit it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm,
Did I forfeit it? Okay.
And I'm just throwing that out there. I'm just throwing it out there.
But it's going to be, I mean, it's got to land, because even if you think about when he was talking, he reminded me, he was talking about like, I think we need a little bit more than just like Roman Punk. I think like that would be great, but I think it's going to be more than that. And I think back when, who was it, Sammy or Jay asked about Cody Rhodes being part of their War Games team. And this went a little under the radar. Roman said, no, he's old news. When Roman came back at SummerSlam, he mouthed to Cody like, the championship is mine. I'm coming back to get it. And I think when he said it's old news, I think people maybe just took that as, oh, they tagged together, bad blood, and he doesn't want to tag with him anymore. You wouldn't say something is old news and then come back pretty soon and won a title shot. So something has significantly changed on the trajectory of when Roman Reigns first came back in August to where we are December 3rd going into Royal Rumble. Because this stuff is just, it feels like there's a major pivot that's about to happen or that's happening, and they're rolling with the pivot. Now, if a pivot was the CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Sami Zayn segment, please give me more pivots.
Let's talk.
That was some of the best television that we've had. That had the feeling of it's WrestleMania season, because it is now with Saturday Night's Main Event, Netflix coming in the month, WrestleMania, et cetera, et cetera. John Cena coming back. But damn, was that not some of the best promos? And they went over time too, you could tell. Was that not some of the best promo work from some professionals that have something to sink their teeth into? When Sami Zayn told Seth Rollins, dude, you did that to Roman Reigns. And then Seth Rollins tells Sami Zayn, dude, you did that to Roman Reigns. And it's like everybody's right and everybody's wrong at the same time. And that just shows how deep in the trenches these stories are. This is stories. These are storytelling that we want, that I want in my wrestling, where we can harken back to fucking 10, 12, 14 years ago, whenever he hit him with the damn chair, and be like, dude, this is the reason why he's spiraled out of control this entire time. Yeah, but did you forget what you did a couple years ago? Like, that was, man, bravo. What'd you guys think of? Did that set, when I saw that segment, I was like, all right, all is forgiven from SummerSlam. I mean, Survivor Series. I'm straight. I'm good. We back.
You know, Hyperbowl has to present itself on the show every time. That has been, or that was the best back and forth in the ring I have ever seen in professional wrestling with CM Punk and Seth. And then you back to back it, bringing in Sammy. That was, when I say gold ball memories, that's a gold ball memory for me, like the John Cena and Roman Reigns gold ball memory for me. Like, that to me was cinema. I remember when this was happening, I was cheering and screaming because how good that segment was. And again, this is I don't really care for Punk, and I'm popping for him. Like, all of that is just cinema gold.
You were singing his song too.
I
on
was.
his way out. I was like, damn, Rhodesia turned full-fledged CM Punk fan.
I mean, that's how much they got me. Like, I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go.
Look at my eyes.
Because he about to fight John Cena. Go ahead, E.
No, yeah, I thought it was a good segment too. I enjoyed majority of that show. Really good. Again, it's the storytelling for me. I wasn't going to say this because I didn't want to trigger y'all hardcore wrestling fans out there, man. One of my things about the War Games and even some of the PLEs, I felt like in some ways I was talking to Brandon. I haven't really been super hyped after watching a lot of the recent WWE PLEs, because it's a lot of good wrestling, and that's cool. I'm here for the drama. I'm here for the shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like really, the wrestling match is just fodder to get to the drama for me, right? And so, like, when I watched War Games, there wasn't really any drama from that kind of left me like, oh, I need to see Raw or I need to see SmackDown because I need to see the fallout of what happened from this drama. Like, right? Well, I got my drama on Raw. And I like this. Like, there was a lot of story that you can kind of go back to. I think as wrestling fans, we always love, to be rewarded from paying attention to things from the past, right? And to tie it in. And it kind of reminded me when I was listening to that story and listening to them go back and forth, you know, and I had to pick on AEW and go back and forth. I remember Brody King and Darby Allin, they were in the ring and they were doing a similar back and forth. And Darby was telling his same old story about how he's, you know, he used to, you know, sleep in his car and, you know, no, everyone gave up on. He kind of started turning to the Miz a little bit. He tells the same story to every heel that, you know, he slept in his car. Darby, we get it. You slept in the car. But see, that's all he has to talk about, right? Because there's no story or character for him to sink his teeth into to get more material to really further that talking segment. So he's just going to repeat the same thing he's passionate about, which is that he made it for he sleep in his car. Whereas Seth and Sami, they can dig into history and story and character development to progress and to really talk about in their storyline. And that's what they did. Now, I think Sami was right the entire time. I think that Seth was like, hey, you did it too. Like, no, fucker, you did it first.
Hell yeah, you did.
The reason why he is the way he is because of what you did to him. So now he got trust issues. So now he want me to decapitate my brother. Right, I came into the business with, that's my godfather of my kid, and you know, you want me to turn on him for you to show my loyalty to you and your family, which I've been doing since day one. Like, no, fucker, you did this. Like, right? It works in some way because they can go, ooh, right? We can go as an audience. I wasn't buying it, Seth. You full of shit, like as usual. Because you know what? That whole night,
there is Seth ain't.
that whole night, you know, he's a big old heel. He healed Sami all night long, and guess what? I was digging it. I would say that Raw was a great night for the heels. Great night for the heels, y'all.
Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins. Sami Zayn. If you had to pick one of them's going to be heel by WrestleMania time, which one of those three are you picking?
All of them.
I'll turn that shit up then.
All of them.
Turn that
all
all the way
Everybody be healed. Even
turn
Cody.
that all the way
Any
up.
Cody. Everybody be healed.
Because if you want to turn that up, one of the better segments of the year. Maybe, if not, I really like the stuff with Punk and Seth. I really like the stuff with Punk and Drew and Seth. Of course, the Final Boss stuff. I know that's a lot of segments. Take out anything that was not WrestleMania related. We got the best segment last night on TV with the New Day. Wow. Bravo, gentlemen. I've talked about how this is the story they wanted to tell. Odyssey Jones tried to fuck it up. He couldn't fuck it up. We got the return of Big E. We talked about that last week. And what I had said was, as long as this does not end by Big E coming out saying, don't you dare be sour, power, positivity, and they all hold hands and walk together, I'll be good. So when Big E came out, I knew we weren't getting that. Because that would have been way too hokey. They're about to announce they're breaking up for Big E to be like, come on, brothers, let's do it. And they'd be like, yeah, you're right. Let's leave together. What I didn't expect, though, was for them to heal Big E the way they did. And boy, did they... We thought it was great between Kofi and Xavier the week before, going back and forth. With the Brock Lesnar comment, the you've never won a singles championship. They were spitting some facts to Big E about him being gone for as long as he's been gone and him not being there for them. And to Xavier Woods' point, dude, you're going to do all that and now you want to come back and be a manager because we about to break up? Now, what I did think was a little illogical was just because y'all hate him, y'all together now? Like, that's some hater shit. So we're talking about heels. Biggest heels in the industry right there is Xavier and Kofi. But talk about that New Day segment and how excited you guys are to see what a legit heel New Day group looks like.
Man, I gotta tell you, man, I was definitely here for the New Day reunion. I told y'all from the get-go, I was here for it. And I think a lot of people were too. And that's why everything hit the way it hit. Because when Big E came out, I think everyone expected him to come out and they were kind of waiting for it. Right. And then, Xavier, tried to at one point kind of sway like, yeah, we miss him too. Like they didn't know he was in the building and he wasn't going to come down in the segment. Right. Like, but I think when Big E came out there and he had so much passion in his voice, or it seemed like he was kind of trembling a little bit. He was getting teared up a little bit, and his voice was jumping a little bit. He was huffing and he was puffing a little bit. He was caught up in emotion.
He was
like
preaching.
Right, and he was saying a lot of things that was true. And so at the end of that, and I'll be honest with you, he's like, "Yo, I came back. I'm gonna come back to be your manager." I clapped. I legit straight up clapped.
You fell for it.
I wanted that. I'm like, yes, that's what I've been wanting this whole time. I've been wanting you to come back this whole time to be with them, unite this thing, and let's get this positivity of back. It's important, man. Look, it's 10 years of these guys being together. It's black athletes on a big stage doing big things. And Big E has been missing from that faction. And for them to be together, I'm like, yeah, let's go one more run. WWE's trying to do something with the tag team division. Let's do one more run. And then all of a sudden, Kofi, of all people, turns big, juicy heel. He's like, wait a minute, E. Now you want to come back? And he just starts turning heel. Like, I honestly did not. We have never seen a heel.
Kofi.
I lost his name for a second. We had never seen one like this. Like, even when they were heels as the New Day, like, right, he still was kind of jokey and cracking jokes. He just being these, doing like that, right? He's kind of doing ha ha ha. But then he was a serious, turned to a nasty heel. Like, out of nowhere, he just started going off on Big E. Right. And then Xavier already had started doing this already. So it made sense for him.
To be fair, Kofi's been a heel, in my opinion, for like the last 4 months.
I mean, listen, hey, I don't put you on mute again. You say the same shit about Cody, and Cody's just fine. So you are the stereotypical smart fan who boos all the faces for whatever reason. Except for fucking John Cena. Like, I don't know how
Let's
you
go,
can be a grown man and you chant for John Cena in these colorful ass shirts. If you a grown man wearing a John Cena shirt, I don't know how to feel about you.
Hey,
but
you want to go to Toronto? He's last date in Toronto's Elimination Chamber. You want to go in March?
Fuck that ninja, man. But let's get back to X-Men. He just started turning heel, and like they turned into the big juicy heels, right? Because he said, "Oh yeah, Steve Austin came back," and he just started saying all these like big hater talk, like right, like Big E's injury is way worse than the other dudes, right? But they know that, right? But that's part of being a heel. They just started saying a bunch of heel hater type stuff, and like I said, you expect it from X, but to hear it from Kofi. Man, I just was really so surprised. And I was really surprised of how much of a convincing heel he turned. I think the overall segment worked really well. There's a lot of intrigue on what they do next as a heel tandem. If you want to talk about like injecting life into an act, they certainly did it. It was one of the probably, I want to say, I'm not a hyperbull guy. But I want to say in recent memory, this has to be one of the best heel turns without a beatdown that I've ever seen.
Bravo.
Yeah. I wanted to cry at first when they first came out because how WWE set up like their murals and like it almost looked like a art gallery of all the different things that they had did over the time, and you could tell that Xavier and Kofi was looking at it, and I just really hope they had the opportunity to really soak it in because they have done so much for tag team championship. Them and the Usos, again, they held down really WWE for a while, so I was really happy to see that. Prior to yesterday, I'm like, listen, New Day needs to be broken up. Like, I don't want an option of them making it better when Big E comes back and then they have a kumbaya, hug it out, and they go at it again. No, I want them broken up. Not in a million years was this ever on my bingo card that they both was going to flip the script and then turn on Big E. For everything you just mentioned, E, like as far as just how Kofi turned to bad guy, it's believable. There's passion there. Again, a little bit like the logic behind it. All of a sudden, now I'm your best friend. I thought as this was playing out that they were going to still go their separate ways. And there's like, F you, Biggie, but still we're separating. But then they end up doing the handshake, and I kind of felt that passion back in there again. So I absolutely love the segment. I was like, no, they need to make sure they are broken up by the end of the night. We didn't get that, but I'm perfectly happy with where we landed at.
Hey, but you know what, guys, though? It kind of makes sense that they reunite because now they're on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
Like, right? Part of it is that Xavier wanted to be aggressive. He damn near wanted to be a bad guy. He was saying like, yo, we need to do something different. We need to cheat, lie, and steal. Like, right? He been on that. That's the type of energy he been on. Kofi like, nah, I'm not doing that. So now they turn around. X like, yo, that's the energy I'm talking about. Like, right? We on the same time. Kofi like, yeah, we are on the same time. He almost essentially saying like, yo, X, you right. You've been right this whole time. Like, we need there definitely needs to be a new day. Like, right? So now they on the same accord because they on the same page. They on the same energy, which is super dick energy, to say the least, man. I love it. I love it, man. I'm like, I'm look, I said that I didn't want to see heel Xavier as a solo guy, but certainly as a tag team. And again, like I said, we've never seen this Kofi, and he played a very convincing heel last night. Because just real quick, you know, I watch NXT, and Fallon Hensley, I like her a lot.
Yeah,
when she turned heel, like her heel turn is such. She's just like a stereotypical heel, like, right? Just a mean girl. She went from being one way, you know, on, you know, the week before to being now she's just talking and like a heel, and she's being sassy and being that. This is a stereotypical bad girl, right? Whereas Kofi, we've never seen this side of him, and he did such a switch that was so jarring that it's really compelling. And it's not the stereotypical, it might end up being that, but just that he was able to be so convincing and show a different side of him that we've never seen made it very interesting.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be stereotypical. I think for them to turn heel, think about how big of a deal this is. Mm-hmm. Big E is one of the nicest guys in the world. You don't hear anything bad about Kofi or Xavier Woods either. And they know how special the New Day thing is. Absolute Hall of Famers. If Hall of Fame was a real thing, they are first ballot as a tag team, as a trio. You think about everything they've done, the history they've done together. For them to say, you know what? Let's go ahead and tell this story of turning heel. This is a big deal. Because if it doesn't work, it will. But if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And I think Big E at the end of the day is going to get cleared. I said it Monday night after I saw I was hoping it was going to bump E. I was like, now bump his ass. Bump him. They didn't get a chance to bump him. But I did say the power positivity will reign at the end of the day. We know the power positivity is going to come back, whenever that may be. 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, whatever. But for now, evil has won. And it feels good. Because that was a perfect segment. So now to be able to see, when do we see Big E again? Is it the New Day does something that just goes too far where they try to come back? He tries to come back and then they do bump him? Is it he's cleared and he gets down with them and then there's just a lot of different ways they can go with it. Shout out to them again for being able to tell their story the way they want to tell their story. From the beginning of this months and months and months and months ago to finish where they finished at. And now I'm excited for like the new music. No way you can still come out there to the old music. So they got to have new music. They got to have a completely different. Everything about him just has to be different.
Everything will be different because, like this again, we've never seen this Kofi before. Xavier's kind of been on this energy for a long time. Like, you're right. Actually, I didn't even think about the music, Matt, because of course it seemed like they done kicked Big E out. Like, right, so you not gonna hear his voice at the beginning of their song.
Come on
right?
now.
Wow.
all that kind of stuff. And what I do love too is social media was ablaze last night. And what I enjoy is that everybody's kind of playing along as if this was real. Like Kofi's mentions have been flooded with hate. Xavier Woods' mentions been flooded with hate, and these are people who, of course, know what the deal is of wrestling. But I'm sure they got a kick out of it. I know they know it went off without a hitch. So I'm excited to see what happens. Does Adam Pearce give the New Day the tag team title shot? And we go that quick with the New Day winning the titles? Remember last night or Monday night on Raw, Pearce said to Finn, hey, you got your match. Saturday night's main event, and we're going to talk about next week about your other title shot. So that's going to be interesting, but I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for it. I guess probably the last big thing that happened on Raw. Raw was overall top to bottom a fantastic show. Mm-hmm. It was. Like I said earlier, it took any nasty and I probably would have given War Games a thumbs in the middle overall. That's where I would have landed at on that show. 2 thumbs way up for Raw. But the return of Drew McIntyre. We had him come back after Seth and Sami's match. Word on the street is that Drew was not supposed to come back yet. He's supposed to come back in a few weeks, but with Bronson Reed hurting his ankle on that spot, the tsunami spot at War Games, they kicked up Drew's return sooner. So I don't know if maybe that was the same spot that Bronson was supposed to be in, and now Drew's taking that spot, or they flipped some things around. But that's one thing we didn't talk about. We got to shout out Bronson Reed. And I loved his tweet. His tweet was something about injuries are temporary, but memories are forever, or something like that. He gets it.
Yeah,
he gets it, because to be that big and to agree to do that spot. And I told Matt before the match. Well, I told Matt before the match. I'm like, this tsunami off the top of the cage is gonna go crazy. He's like, you think that's gonna happen? I'm like, dude, they put that move over too much over the last month and a half for him not to. Of course, he's not going to hit it. You can kill somebody with his eyes, but we're going to get that spot. And then for Punk to save Roman from that spot, and to see that table just explode, but he did get injured. So hopefully he gets back super quick. But so Drew's back. I miss Drew. Like, Drew was on a hell of a run, and it kind of just got stopped. But what'd you guys think about just Drew coming back, and then Sami and Seth's match?
Sami and Seth's match was, I think, just there. I think we talked about it. What the point of that match was about. I probably had a little bit higher expectations in the match, the actual match, when it first was announced at the beginning of the show. Again, it was still a solid match, but it wasn't what I thought, just because of commercial breaks and all that other stuff. But I am a bit confused on why Drew did it. I'm here for it, and I still kind of almost call this maybe sort of kind of bloodline, so I'm not going to try to book it, but I was a little bit confused on why he's there and why he took out the 2 people that he took out. Well, we're assuming he took out Jay. I think that's probably safe to say. I don't know yet, so I'm just kind of like, what's happening here, and maybe because of the Bronson Reed thing, I don't know. I'm just waiting to see what happens in the next couple weeks.
I thought about it. Drew can come out and say he attacked Jay and Sami, but they could totally it could have been somebody else that attacked Jay, right? Mm-hmm. And Sami, and he just went after Sami, which would be interesting, because if they're already kind of taking Sami out of the bloodline equation for at least for a short term, right? We watched the press conference. And he was like, "Yo, I'm here for the ride, like, right? He gonna stay for a while, right?" And now you got Drew kind of sidelining him into like another situation, right? So you're gonna see, Sami now involved with Drew, taking him out of whatever they possibly could be doing with the bloodline, right? We know Jimmy's gonna be sidelined, right? Cause he heard the pinky toe, like, damn, man. Right, yeah. So he gonna be out for a little minute, and if Jay, if he's gonna sell this, this little beat down, we never know, he's gonna be gone for a week. It really seems like this bloodline thing right now, at least for the short term, is on pause, which I think is very interesting and which makes sense. I'm not sure if we're going to see Roman on SmackDown or not. That'd be very interesting to say, but yeah, Drew, missed him. He's phenomenal, man. Netflix in January is going to be off the hook.
And what you can say too about your point, E, about the bloodline piece, what we do know now is they're intact. So like next time we see Roman, Jimmy should be there, Jay should be there. I don't know if Sammy's gonna be there, but they're together now. And I think we see them together. Yeah, I think we see them together now for like Mania season. I do. So I think that's where they go with that. But yeah, I'm excited for Drew to come back. They got a lot of things cooking right now. You know, they announced some things for Saturday night's main event. I'm super excited. I saw the seating chart, and they already kind of went away from like the big stages for the shows outside of like Mania and for the arena shows. The entry ramp looks like the legit entry ramp for back in the day Saturday night's main event. I cannot wait for
you should get the
what they do with this show. Man, I'm here for it. I'm more excited for Saturday night's main event just to see the graphics they use, the production, than I was for War Games and whatever hell, you know, SummerSlam combined. Like that's how I'm locked into this one. So it should be a good one. I'm excited for it. And then, of course, we'll be back to talk about it. That's going to be next Saturday. So hopefully they announce more than the 3 matches they've announced so far. We can do like a little breakdown on that next week for the preview and then keep it moving. So that is it, folks. He said he wanted to have a 90-minute pod. We went 95 minutes. All right. If we wasn't hating on and kind of giving our thoughts and prayers over to AEW for 55 minutes, we could have talked more WWE. But hopefully at least we ended on a good note. I looked down at the time. I was like, shit, we ain't said nothing positive yet. we almost an hour and 10 minutes in this thing. But we finished with positivity, unlike the New Day, where they finished with the hate. We appreciate it. Leave a thumbs up, a like, a comment. Interact with us. Y'all know how we get down. Thank you guys for all the comments, the likes, the shares. This platform that we use to show our video, just real quick. I'm not going to say because then they may like search and then hear what I'm about to say. Y'all hating on us. Every time I put a short up, the short takes off with views and then it cuts off like a faucet. So that's why when we talk about giving us likes, comments, it's so important because that pushes the algorithm. Without the algorithm, we take off. And then whenever the algorithm needs to kick in, it just stops. So please interact with our videos, share, like, subscribe. You guys know the deal. Follow us on Twitter. We're there. That's at FNW. On YouTube, if you aren't watching, we are there at That's Freakin' Wrestling. Instagram, we're there also. That's FNW. I'll put some up for you, Eric, later on this week. Thank you guys for listening. Love you. We'll holler at you next time.